Okay, hello everyone. It's my pleasure to meet you during the second day of NDC London conference. I know it may be hard to wake up for 9 a.m., so I'm super grateful you are here today. And I hope you are not sleepy because I have some fairy tale for you today. But before we will go there, let me shortly introduce myself. I'm Dominika Zając and I'm a software engineer from education, profession and passion. I work as a software engineer at Qualtrics in Kraków, Poland. And apart from that, I'm also a Google developer expert in web technologies, mostly speaking about Chrome DevTools, accessibility, best practices, and voila, today I will be speaking about Chrome DevTools and accessibility. Surprise, surprise. Okay, it's a little about me, but I really want to meet also you. I know it's impossible to ask each of you about your life and stuff like that, but please raise your hand if you are a web developer. Okay, there are some web developers on the stage, perfect. Please raise your hand if you heard about accessibility before. A lot of people, perfect, I'm super happy about that. So raise your hand if you like fairy tales. Not so many hands, okay. I hope I will change it a little because I was thinking how to talk with you about accessibility in a little more interesting way. So I decided to tell you a story. Once upon a time, a long time ago, before the global pandemic, war in Ukraine, inflation, and everything bad happening just now, it was a goldfish. But it was not typical goldfish we have in our aquariums, and you know, they're just swimming and that's all. It's magical goldfish. Their job is just to being caught by fishermen and convince them that they should let her go free. Instead of that, golden fish will make their dreams true. It's a little hardy job, like her fins went in bruises from nets because, you know, it's not really comfortable to be caught in a fisherman net. Also, her mouths were pierced by all those small items to fish to find the fish. I forgot the name, sorry. I'm a little nervous today. But it was a stable job, yeah? It was a good job, it was paid, so it was okay. Later on, 2020 came, and as the rest of the world, our goldfish had to start working from home. It may be a little difficult for fish who's making dreams to start working from home, don't you think? So she decided she become web developer, and our goldfish created her first web page. It's super, as you can see, simple, advanced form where everyone from the whole world can just put their name, email, wish, and once a month, our goldfish is randomly choosing one person who is winning, and Goldfish is making that dream come true. Let's preview this web page. So, when I go here, maybe for now without that, I start typing. So, I'm Domi, and I want a teleport to avoid traffics. I'm submitting, oh no, there is something wrong. There's missing email, so I'm adding some email, voila. Okay, let's say it was working. Probably I spoiled something, you didn't see that, okay? Agree? Agree? Okay, perfect. So, let's assume it's working. But there's one small problem. This web page is working, it's beautiful, it's making the job, but our goldfish forgot that needs for humans are really different. And when we are talking about accessibility, we are mostly thinking about those permanent needs, like someone who has only one arm, someone who is blind, or person who is deaf. Actually, those needs are more different. We have also some temporary needs, like when you, for example, break your arm, and for 2-4 weeks you have to use computer a little differently than normally. You don't have any special accessories for that. You don't need any special keyboard. You don't want to pay a lot of money to adjust your computer for your needs, because it's only temporary. There are also situational needs, like when you are at pub and it's super loud, so we cannot hear anything. And when we have captions in the video, they are solving our problems, yeah? So all those needs can be and should be addressed via accessibility, and all those accessibility features helping not only people with permanent disabilities, but also those who are just temporary or situational. There are also needs that are not visible on the first sight, like cognitive problems. And they are also should be included in our webpage. Unfortunately, our Goldfish didn't know that. So let's talk about accessibility. There are many, many different definitions, and when you start Googling for accessibility word, you can find at least 10 of them, and some of them are really, really difficult to understand and read, but I really love this simple definition. Accessibility is just building software available for everyone, including individuals with disabilities, but it's for everyone. And sometimes you may see this shortcut, A11Y, how it was constructed. It's super easy. So we took the first letter and the last letter of the word accessibility, counted letters between them, and voila, we have a small hashtag. If you are looking for some materials about accessibility, for example on Twitter, you can use this hashtag and find a lot of great materials there. Okay, it was some intro. Let's meet some people. Because I am not the only one who's using this webpage who want to make their dreams come true. There are more people who also try to fulfill this form from Goldfish. One of them is Mark. Mark is 34 years old and daily work as a bank analyst. However, he's super proud dad of 2 dogs. He's walking with them all days. He's still thinking about new tricks he can teach them. And his dream is to go to Hawaii with his dogs and just have a great holidays there. What's more, Mark can't see colors. So, for him, our form will look a little differently. It's worth mentioning that color blindness does not necessarily mean seeing words in grayscale. It's the least common case, but let's say Mark is seeing this form in grayscale. Let's see how it will look like. So, let's go back to our form. And, oh, maybe not this. I'm also not morning person, as you can see. It's here, yeah? So it's grayscale. Let's say it's actually okay. Majority of things you can still see, but this label submit is really hard visible. When I hover over it, it's okay, but here it's really, really hard to read. And it's one of the most common mistakes in the web, that we don't have enough contrast ratio between labels, icons, and the background. So it's really hard to read for people who have some vision deficiencies. There's also another problem. Do you remember marking invalid fields in red? It's here. You just can't see that, yeah? So for him, this information that some fields are in red means nothing, like, okay, nice. I have no idea which fields are incorrect. What we can do with that? As developers, we should remember about everyone, and we should build our web pages in a way that are available for everyone. And today, I want to tell you how to use Chrome DevTools to improve that. So, short question, who is using Chrome DevTools? From you, raise your hand. Perfect. Almost everyone, so super short introduction for those who never heard about it. Chrome DevTools is developer toolkit already built in your Chrome browser, available for free without installing anything. So you can just use one of the shortcuts visible on the screen. They are different for Mac and Windows Linux. Or find three dots menu in top right corner of your browser, more tools and developer tools. And then you can open this console. There are many, many different tabs, many different options what you can do there. The most popular is this view where you can see the HTML preview, some styling, but there are also tips about network. You can check performance and so on, so on, so on. Today, we will be speaking only about features connected with accessibility. But if you never heard about it, I strongly recommend checking Chrome DevTools because it's a lot of super useful things there. Okay, let's go back to our demo. Not this one, but this one. Okay, the first thing we can do is emulating vision deficiencies. It's not really a debugging tool. It's not really something which will help us improve the code. It's more about understanding problems and seeing the world like a person with vision deficiencies. So, when you have those Chrome DevTools open, you can choose three dots, more tools, and find a tab called rendering. And here, we have an option called Emulate Vision Deficiencies. You can open it on any web page available in internet and emulate different types of color blindness, for example, or blurred vision, so me without glasses, yeah? I'm seeing almost nothing then. You don't have to trust me. It works only on a magical Goldfish form. We can also run it on NDC page, so I'm doing exactly the same. More tools, rendering, here, finding vision deficiencies, and, okay, maybe I should pin it to the bottom. Oh, as you can see, the web page of NDC also looks completely different. So what I recommend to you is just switch the mode in your browser and use the internet the way you're using normally, for example, for 1 hour or 2 hours. And you may be really, really surprised when you check how differently the web pages you're normally using look for people with vision deficiencies. Check if everything is visible, if all information are still there. Can you read everything? You really, really may be surprised. But, as I said, it's not really developer thing. Yeah, it's just experiment to better understand. So, let's see what we can do with this button. As I said previously, it's not best one. It's really hard to read. So, what can we do with that? First of all, we have this element picker, and when we hover over that, we see hover with shortcut of all properties, CSS properties on this element. And there is some orange icon, exclamation mark, close to contrast label, telling us there's something wrong with contrast on this element. When we open this element in style section and click on color, we are also receiving information. Come on, there is something wrong with contrast ratio. It's not enough. What is nice, when you expand this section, you can see that contrast ratio is not enough. You can see what is expected contrast ratio for AA and AAA like guidelines, rules, and what is my favorite feature here. Those two are buttons. So when you click on them, Chrome DevTools will propose a new color for your text, for your icon, which is as close to the original one as possible, but still fulfilling the criteria of the contrast. Of course, it's not saving, it's just a preview, but still, we can just copy that, put in our source code, and we have quickly information. What can we do to improve that? Nice. Trust me, it's super nice. You should be excited, as I am. Okay. But you may say that clicking for each element may be a little difficult. And yeah, I agree with you. Come on, why don't you want to? Okay, reload it. Reloading fixes all problems. Okay, so it's nice when we are working on some element, we are just developing that because we are previewing that. But let's be honest, no one is hovering over all elements on the web page and looking for some problems. Like, you can, but it's really time-consuming, it's not nice, and there are better tools for that. So when we, for example, have an existing web page, and we want to check all problems connected with colors on the web page, we can use another feature. It was recently introduced, which is called CSS Overview. It's still in the preview mode, but I found it super, super useful. It's why I'm talking about that. Once again, how I went there. So 3 dots, more tools, CSS Overview. I open it in a new tab to make it a little bigger and more visible for you. So I'm capturing overview, and after a few seconds, I'm receiving the report about all styling on the web page. In the top, there are some summary, there's also some font info, some info about media queries, unused declarations, so on. But what is important for us are colors. And here, we have all colors used on the web page. It's also nice when you have a color palette, for example, from your UX designer, and want to check if all colors on the web page are okay. Here, we have a section called contrast issues. And all elements on the web page will be listed there with contrast issues. So here, it's super simple form. So there's only one component. We have info that it's a problem in both rules, AA and AAA. And when we click on that, we are redirected to this Elements tab. So we know exactly which element it was. We can see the styling again. So we can easily navigate, find this element, which is problematic, and fix it the same way I did it previously. So it's super, super easy way to fix all problems with colors, to detect them on your web page. Let's go back to my presentation. It's not cooperating today. Okay, so what to remember from this short preview? Please, please, please remember about keeping sufficient color contrast ratio between element and the background. Because in other case, they may be just not readable for people with different vision deficiencies. And do not just rely on color when communicating information. When your field is invalid, don't just mark it in red. You can make the border bolder. You can just add some text. You can add some indicator. Do something visible for everyone, not only colors. Time to meet a second person. It's a Suzanne. Suzanne is a great singer and pianist. She loves karaoke. She is singing during her job. She works as a physiotherapist, and she can see. She's using screen reader. It's a special software available in each operating system, thanks to which web pages are read for her. So she's not seeing our web page. For her, it's more like this. The not necessary notes are just removed, and screen reader is reading the heading on our form. It reads there is some image, but not telling what is inside this image, some text box, label text, and what is also important, submit. So let's go back to the example. It may be difficult for us to understand how the web page will look like will be read for people using screen readers, but fortunately we have something called full page accessibility tree. So when you are in Elements tab, in Styles, on the right side there is something called accessibility. Here we can check this checkbox. Later on we have to reload Chrome DevTools, and thanks to that, we can easily switch between this mode previewing the HTML view and mode showing how it will be read for screen reader. So screen reader is translating HTML into text, into images, into things that are more understandable for this person. It shouldn't be here. Let's remove that. And here we can notice some problems. First of all, image. On our image, when we go back and preview that, you can remember there was very important information. In the image, we had information that the winner will be chosen once a month. It will be chosen on 1st February, and it's not the best behavior. First of all, for example, people using screen readers can't read that because we don't have this information in this view visible for Susan. Secondly, when we, for example, zooming something, images are not zooming well. So this information may be lost. Also, as developers, very often we are just using Control F to find something. And also when text is inside the image, we cannot search that. So my advice is do not include text in images until it's really necessary. Just put it separately. Here is the problem because this image has no description. Each image should have some label, some description, this alternative text telling what is inside this image. Otherwise, screen reader will say image, and that's all. So it's not enough in our case. We should add, for example, when we add here, when we add here something called alt, and here we can put description like rules of the contest, winner will be chosen at 1st Feb. I changed that in HTML, and you can see that if I switch to this, why it disappeared? It's something wrong here. Okay. Probably I did something wrong. However, it will be visible for the screen reader. So instead of reading just there is image, it will read there is an image, and in this image there are some information. This additional label will be read for the user. I reload the page, it's always solving all problems.
Because you typed a new line in the
It shouldn't be there, to be honest. It should be more when I don't close the tag or do something like that, but new line shouldn't change anything. Let's try again. Okay, now it's visible. You can imagine here it's the string I put it before, okay? I'm not doing that again. But what I wanted to show you that you can easily switch between this HTML preview and this view for screen reader, so you can easily debug and notice some problems. There are more problems on screen reader on this page. You can see that, for example, here, email and wish are combined into label sections. Thanks to that, user has info that this label is connected with this input. I'm expecting you to put email there or something. It's not in the first text box. So there's no information that this text name is somehow combined with input, and I'm expecting you to put name inside. Let's see what is the difference. Here we have label, and inside this label tag we have text, name, and input. We don't have that in the first thing. So we should wrap that. Okay. Edit as HTML. So when we wrap that into label tag, okay, you can see it was changed, and now we have this information. No, we don't have that. It's something wrong with the switching. I know, because of weak internet connection, so sorry. But you have to believe me, it should work. So when we change that and wrap our component into this label, it will be connected. So user will receive information that we expect you to put a name inside this input. It's very, very important to use correct HTML semantic tags inside our web pages. Why? Let's take a look at the button. As you can see, it's just a div, yeah? And as developers, we have a tendency to use divs everywhere. It looks good, yeah? It looks better. We don't have to override the default styling, and there's no difference, right? It was working when I was using a mouse. But unfortunately, there's a big difference for users using screen readers. If we use div, like here, there's no information you can click there. There's no information, it's a button. For screen reader user, it will be just text. So they have no idea they can do something with that. What is also very, very important, you can fix that. You can add role attribute here and say it's a button. You can add your custom method to support also not only on click, but also on key press. But it's more work. So it's better to use just semantic HTML. It's also important when we are talking about heading levels, like many users are using shortcuts. And those shortcuts are creating a map of elements on the web page. So hierarchy is super important. When you start with H1 element, the next one should be H2. When you do nesting and H3 is nested below H4, the map will be completely destroyed. And navigation using those shortcuts will be extremely difficult or impossible for them. So, there's also one more thing problematic on this web page. It's not only for people using screen readers, but also, for example, for Vim users. I discovered that recently, that a lot of people is using keyboard navigation. But Vim users can just switch to the mouse or touchpad. Screen reader users, mostly they cannot. They just use keyboard navigation. And here, when I use keyboard navigation, it's okay, okay, okay. And because it's text, I cannot navigate using keyboard navigation to the submit. So I cannot submit my form because it's not a focusable element. We can also check that, we can also see that using Chrome DevTools. So when we on this element, let me click on this element and we will go to the accessibility properties or that, we can see it's not focusable. There's no info, it's focusable. It's also visible in this accessibility tree, like here. I open it in a new tab. So it's visible also here. This one is focusable, this one is focusable, this one is focusable, but this one is not. So it's information for us that probably there is something wrong there. You can see there are more information even there. Like for screen reader users, I have information it's not required. I'm not sure if you're seeing that, but here, required is false. But we know that I wanted to make this field required. To change that, I also need to add property called area required equal to true. So it looks very difficult, but I strongly recommend to you just switching between this HTML preview, this accessibility tree, and compare if the output is really what you expect it to be. And is the keyboard navigation correct? Are all elements focusable? Are they grouped in correct groups? And do all images have correct descriptive text? Okay, so some summary of what I just said. It's always use correct semantic HTML elements in the correct order, because thanks to that you can avoid a lot of work. When you just use button, you don't have to add some additional JavaScript overrides to support clicking via keyboard, or just adding information that the button screen reader will add this information, it's clickable for you, and so on, so on, so on. Also, those maps on the web page will be created correctly. Second thing, each image should contain alternative text or be marked as decorative. Not all images have to have this alternative text, but if it's decorative, we should just add this alt tag and left it empty, or add area hidden true. Then it's information for our screen reader that the given element is just decorative, and screen reader can just ignore that. What's more, all actions available via mouse should be available also using keyboard navigation. So you can just turn off your mouse for 1 hour and check how many clicks you need to navigate to the main content on your web page. How long it will take to, for example, find the first article. Where is your focus when you, for example, close the modal? Do you know? Is it in the correct place? When you can see, it's even easier, yeah? Because even if this focus jumps somewhere, you can still see that. For screen reader users, it's super confusing when you just close your modal and land, for example, in the beginning on the page again, because someone forgot to check that. And there's also a Bob. Bob also wanted to ask Goldfish for making his dream true. He really dreams of a home close to the beach, so he can just walk each morning, see the beach, see the ocean, just relax there. And he's also a bartender. He's very vulnerable for motion. And you might be surprised, but there are many, many people for whom motions are very difficult. They can't concentrate, for example. When they have some animation, they can't read the text because their focus is just going to this animation. Or they have headaches from too many motions. They can even feel nausea after that. And many of them is using something called reduce motion. Each operating system is supporting this property. It's how it looks on Mac. So you can go in your settings to accessibility and check this reduce motion option. As a developers, we can easily detect if someone set this property using media query in CSS or JavaScript snippet visible on the screen. And as you can imagine, when someone has this state set, we should just understand it, and we should reduce animations on our web page. Why it's so important? Because we have also another version, like here. So it's just making bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller. For most of us, it's just annoying, yeah? But it's okay. It's just creative vision of our Goldfish. So for majority of us, it's not a problem to use that, to use this page to fulfill the form, even if this animation is on. However, not for Bob. Bob cannot use this page because his focus is shifting to this animation and he can't focus on anything else. What I want to show you is option to make debugging a little easier. We have the whole page called animations in Chrome DevTools, where you can preview all animations on the web page, you can play with them, make them slower, longer, stop them, and so on, so on, so on. But I'm not showing that just now. But if you haven't seen, I strongly recommend it to debug your animations. But again, in rendering section, we have also something called emulate prefers reduced motion. And here we can easily check if this web page is supporting this property or not. I know that if we have only one web page, we can change it on operating system level. But when we, for example, work on the web page, in one tab, you can set this property in Chrome DevTools on the second, set it off, compare, work with that, so you can emulate it easily. So it's just for making your life as a developer a little easier. Okay. And there's a rule that each animation longer than 5 seconds should have the option to pause, stop, hide this animation, and of course, all animations on the web page should respect this reduce motion option. A lot of talking, don't you think? Okay. Who feel already a little overwhelmed? No one. Okay. But our Goldfish felt really overwhelmed. Come on, it was only 4 people. And we found so many problems. And this form, it's only 3 inputs and 1 button and image, and that's all, yeah? So how can I learn everything? What can I do to support everyone? Not only those 4 people, but there are much more needs and probably much more things I have to learn. And you know, Goldfish just started learning programming, so there are a lot of things they have to learn. They're solid, there are patterns, there are new frameworks each day, and so on, so on, so on. Fortunately, as in each fairy tale, there's also smart owl, yeah? And when animals don't know what to do, they're always going to this owl and asking for advice. Always super smart. It's like staff senior developer. And all said, there's something called Lighthouse. But it's not Lighthouse you know from ocean, from the beach, but Lighthouse are automated audits available in Chrome DevTools. So let's see it on NDC London webpage. We are going back to the Chrome DevTools here. Sorry, it's here. We have a tab called Lighthouse. And maybe I'll open it in a new tab so it will be more visible. We have many options here. So we can choose if we want to check mobile or desktop. We can choose one of categories. It can be also performance, best practices, progressive web apps, stuff like that. Let's make our audit according to accessibility. When we click the button, it takes few seconds. So after a few seconds, it's reloading the web page behind, analyzing that, and we will receive a report. Report saying what can be improved, what is okay on our web page, and what was not checked because it's not applied to our web page. Internet connection, it's not the best, but let's keep fingers crossed it will work. If not, I have backup, so should be okay. Yeah, let's hope it will finish soon. What is important? In those audits, we receive not only number, there is a number. So when we are working on some measuring, you can see that we have a scale from 1 to 100. And when we have a score below 50, it's bad. And you should really think what to do to improve that. 51 to 90 is okay, but can be better. And we are aiming to receive score between 91 and 100. Okay, there is no hope for that. Oh, it's here. So we have this score. So it's 80. It's okay, but can be improved. What is really nice, we have list of failing tests. And each of failing tests, like here, when you click on that, has info. What is wrong? You can link to the blog where you can check why it's important, how it's tested, what you can do to improve that. But it's also nice, you have a list of all failing elements. When you click on them, you will be redirected to this Elements tab. You can preview which element is missing this alternative text. So you can easily detect all problematic places on your web page. Let's go back to our report. So yeah, there are reports. As you can see, there are there are more failing tests here, but they are grouped into categories. There's category for names and labels, contrast, navigation, so on, so on, so on. There are also info about items to manually check, but when you are just starting your learning about accessibility, I strongly recommend to check also past audits. What should be there? It is on your web page, but what is important, what is checked in that, and not applicable stuff. Like, for example, when you don't have video, it's not checking stuff connected with video because there's no video on your web page. What's more, you can export this report, save it as HTML, JSON, so you can also share it with someone else. You can save it, check if you're really improving something, and it's a super powerful tool. When you don't know how to start, just start from doing a Lighthouse audit. And let's go back to my presentation. I skip it because I was not sure if it will work, so I had a backup. But the question is, can we really trust bots? And personally, I think we can't. First of all, that's sometimes a little dramatic, like Herbert the Vacuum, very famous from Twitter, who said his owner, he's stuck near a cliff. Come on, it's only balcony, yeah? The second reason why I don't trust bots is more connected with topic of my presentation. Only 57% of problems with accessibility can be detected via automated tools. And we have to remember about that. Even if tools can check if we have alternative text for the image, it can't check if it's a good description. Like if we put the name of the file, it won't warn us there is something wrong there. Yeah? It's just checking is it there or not. It's a problem with keyboard navigation. Automated tools cannot understand that something should be focusable or not. So, unfortunately, we need manual tests. And we have to perform them regularly. If you have a chance, it's great to include in them people with different disabilities because it's the best source of knowledge, yeah? If you're looking for a tool to help you start with those manual audits, I strongly recommend to you Accessibility Insights for Web. It's extension available, for example, for Chrome. And it's driving you step by step via each category you should test. It's telling you what should be tested there, how to test that, why it's important. You can also check if test failed or passed in your manual audit, so in the end you can also export some report from that. And it's just, you can treat it as a checklist, what I have to check before saying it's really accessible. Of course, we are not performing that after each merge request because it's quite a long process, but before deploying a new feature or when we are working on something more complicated and we think that it may break something, before big release, it's very, very important to perform this manual audit. It was just a fairy tale. We don't have magical goldfishes. They are not web developers. Owls are not senior web developers. And this web page, unfortunately, does not exist, so you cannot put your wish, sorry for that. But problems are real. And when we look at the data, 1 of 12 men and 1 of 200 women in the world is colorblind. 1.3 billion people, or 1 in 6 people worldwide, experience significant disability. 23% of disabled responders say they never go online. So there are a lot of new customers for our products there. Our society is older and older. We all need more functions like zooming on the web page. We will need those bigger buttons very soon. We all need more accessibility features, even when we are in the pub and it's so loud we cannot talk and hear each other. So there are no goldfishes, but you can make my dream come true. When you go home, just open your web page, open Chrome DevTools and run Lighthouse accessibility audit and fix at least one bug. Hardcore version, fix all bugs visible there and perform also manual audit. Let's make the internet accessible to everyone, because we will also benefit from that. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.